We all know cough is the most common respiratory symptom and it is the most disturbing symptom. It not only disturbs the child who is sufferer but also disturbs the family, and this is the most common cause a parent take their children to a physician. A normal child also can cough. Cough is a protective phenomenon and it protects respiratory tract, but cough sometimes becomes dangerous to the body. Why? If there will be continuous cough, dry cough, a vigorous cough can generate a pressure of 300 mm of mercury in the thorax, and in expiratory phase it has a velocity of approximately 800 kilometers per hour. So it can injure the respiratory epithelium. So there may be some tear in the respiratory epithelium and blood coming out with cough. And if there is a vigorous continuous cough, the child may suffer from dizziness, headache, exhaustion, musculoskeletal pain. So cough becomes dangerous and then it should always be treated. So in the next 20 to 30 minutes, I will be discussing an approach to a coughing child. So let us start with a case scenario. 2 years male came to the OPD with parents with complaint of cough for last 7 weeks, very long. And cough is disturbing the child as well as parents. When a mother came to my clinic with her son and I asked, is the cough disturbing the sleep of child? She said no. Child is sleeping and coughing. The person who is sleeping with the child gets disturbed. So it is disturbing to the parents, to the family also. And parents in this case visited 5 to 6 doctors, but cough is persisting. And child remains asymptomatic for 5 to 6 days and again starts coughing. Child has received several nebulized medications with some relief, only some relief. And on examination, the weight and height are normal as per the age of the child. There is no cyanosis, no clapping, no lymphadenopathy, no edema. Throat examination is normal. Nasal cavity is normal on examination. Chest on auscultation is clear with bilaterally equal breath sound. So what to do now? This is our situation. So we start thinking what to do now in such situation, in such clinical scenario. And this is the situation of most of us. So cough is the most common respiratory symptom. Persistent cough is the most common disturbance for which parents seek a physician. Persistent cough affects the day-to-day activities, sleep pattern, school attendance and play of a child. Cough not only affects children but also disturbs the sleep of parents. A child cough is different from adult cough in etiology and management than that we will see. So why to treat cough? If it is a protective phenomenon, then why it should be treated? Cough is a protective mechanism of body necessary for the clearance of the airways and lung by expelling pollutants, irritants, pathogens, allergens, secretions and debris accumulated due to excessive inflammation. A normal child can cough 11 times in a day on an average, but its frequency and severity increases during winter season, the season of maximum respiratory tract infections with so many viruses. And cough starts after stimulation of cough receptors and generation of impulse. Impulses travel through afferent nerves to cough center in the medulla, which is under control of higher center. Cough center sends signal to expiratory muscles through efferent nerves. Sudden contractions of expiratory muscles produces cough and all unwanted materials get expelled from the airway. So this is the protective mechanism of the body. So what are the locations of cough receptors? It is located in the paranasal sinuses, eardrum, external auditory meatus, pharynx. These have only mechanoreceptors. There are 2 types of cough receptors, chemical sensitive and mechanoreceptors. It is situated in the larynx, trachea, carina, branching of airways, smaller airways, and this larynx, trachea, carina, branching of airways, smaller airways, contain both types of receptors. That is mechanoreceptors and chemical sensitive receptors. It is situated in pleura, pericardium. Pericardium also has cuff receptors. Stomach has cuff receptors. Diaphragm has cuff receptors, and these only contains mechanoreceptors. Some are both chemical and mechanoreceptors. Mechanoreceptors are stimulated by touch and displacement. So if there is gastric distension, there is displacement. If there are some irritating substance in the stomach, it irritates the cuff receptors. So mechanoreceptors are stimulated by touch and displacement, whereas chemical receptors are stimulated by changing the chemical, and it is capsaicin sensitive. So chemical receptors, chemical sensitive receptors are stimulated by acids, citric acids, capsaicin-like substances. This is the reason when there is stimulated cuff receptors and the child gets some citric fruits, the mother will complain that as the child gets orange or this citrus fruits, the child starts coughing. This may be the reason. So regarding pathophysiology of cuff receptors are endings of vagal nerves. Upon stimulation, these receptors send signal to the cuff center situated in medulla. It then starts sequence of events which constitute cuff. Cuff has three components: inspiratory, compressive, and expiratory. There are several factors which upregulate the sensitivity of cuff receptors, and the most common upregulator is upper respiratory tract viral infections. So if it gets stimulated, if there is upregulation of the receptors, innocuous substances which normally does not provoke the cough can provoke cough if it is upregulated, and the most common upregulator is upper respiratory tract viral infections. So other common factors which upregulate cough receptors are asthma, gastroesophageal reflux disease, chronic sinusitis, treatment with ACE inhibitors, prolonged exposure to air pollutants. Upregulation causes cough to be triggered by non-specific factors which normally does not provoke a cough. So if it is upregulated due to these factors, an innocuous substance may provoke the cough which normally does not provoke cough in a normal child. Cough undergoes considerable developmental changes, and it can be provoked in almost 10% preterm of 27 weeks gestation. So preterm of 27 weeks gestation can also cough. And in 90% full term infants, it is not that neonates do not cough. It can be provoked in 10% of 27 weeks gestation age and in 90% of full term neonates. But in neonates, cough is weak. Cough is the most important protective mechanism for the airways, which enhances innate immunity by increasing mucociliary clearance. It is both under voluntary and involuntary control. So, spontaneously the child may start coughing, and if you say child to cough, he may cough. So, it is under control of voluntary and involuntary, both. Cough efficiency depends on airway caliber. Airway malacia decrease the efficiency. When there is airway malacia, there is decreased efficiency of cough, and there is increased respiratory tract infection due to less clearance of the airways. And its efficiency depends on mucus properties and respiratory muscle strength. Mucus property, the child has dyskinesia or cystic fibrosis, there is decreased quality of mucus, so cough may be non-effective. And if there is paralysis of respiratory muscles, cough will be non-effective, and there is increased chance of recurrent respiratory infections. Since cough is a protective phenomenon, it should never be suppressed without identifying and treating the cause. So always cause should be searched. How to classify cough in children? So cough can be classified on the basis of duration of cough. If it is less than 4 weeks duration, it is called acute cough. If it is more than 4 weeks duration, it is called chronic cough. So most of the guidelines say this except British Thoracic Society, which says that if it is more than 8 weeks, then it is chronic cough. But European Respiratory Society, American Thoracic Society, all guidelines say more than 4 weeks, chronic cough. It can be classified on the basis of etiology of cough, like non-specific cough, specific cough, and expected cough. And it can be classified on the basis of quality of cough, that is sound quality of cough, and wet cough, dry cough. I will explain how will you classify wet cough and dry cough. So the most common cause of acute cough is viral infection and post-viral UTI cough. This is the most common cause of acute cough, that is less than 4 weeks duration. This cough lasts for 1 to 2 weeks, but in approximately 10% cases it may last for 25 days, and this is the basis of classification of acute cough. Acute cough is not always benign. Like cough due to foreign body expression presents acutely, but it is not benign. Usually it is benign, but not always benign. For example, foreign body expression, it starts as acute cough, but it is not benign. Cough due to sinusitis may present as acute cough, it is also not benign. And cough due to vocal cord dysfunction, psychogenic cough may present as acute cough. These are also not benign, but may present as acute cough. So acute cough is not always benign. Most of the time it is benign, but not always benign. Common causes of chronic cough based on age: less than 5 years, more than 5 years. So less than 5 years causes are coronavirus, more than 4 weeks. Causes are infections, gastroesophageal reflux, congenital malformations, asthma, protected bacterial bronchitis, passive smoking, and environmental pollution, foreign body inhalations. In older children, that is more than 5 years, asthma, infections, postnasal drip, protected bacterial bronchitis, passive smoking, bronchitis, and psychogenic cough. So these are the causes of chronic cough. Specific cough indicators. What are the indicators of specific cough? There are some indicators in which we can say that this is the specific cause of cough. When the cough is progressive. So in asthma it is not progressive. It is intermittent. There is cough for few days, no cough, then again there is cough for few days. If it is progressive, then it is pointing for some disease like tuberculosis. In tuberculosis, cough is progressive. Unless you treat tuberculosis, cough will not subside. In primary ciliary dyskinesia, it will be progressive. There will be not a single day without cough. Shortness of breath, chronic or exertional. Shortness of breath is seen mostly in asthmatic child. So it may be chronic shortness of breath or it may be exertional, only on exertions. Failure to thrive. So if there is failure to thrive, there is some specific pointers like tuberculosis, failure to thrive, like cystic fibrosis, failure to thrive, primary ciliary dyskinesia, failure to thrive, hypoxemia. So if there is cough with hypoxemia, we should suspect interstitial pneumonitis, and in tuberculosis also there is cough with hypoxemia. There is one patient in our ICU now, Tanya, in which there is hypoxemia. So if there is hypoxemia, we should suspect in tuberculosis. If there is hypoxemia, we should suspect miliary tuberculosis because there is alveolar block, or there may be bronchogenic spread. So bronchogenic spread causes deposition in the bronchi and there may be hypoxemia. Constitutional symptoms like in tuberculosis, clubbing, persistent hypoxemia, chest wall abnormality, congenital or acquired. So another specific indicators are noisy breathing and or abnormal lung auscultation. Noisy breathing like in laryngomalacia, laryngeal wave, laryngeal cleft, laryngeal cyst, laryngeal hemangioma. There are so many causes. Abnormal lung auscultations, infections or congenital lung malformations. Coughing with a background history of recurrent pneumonia. So if there is recurrent pneumonia, then we should suspect there is something going on in between the child coughs like primary ciliary dyskinesia or cystic fibrosis. Cough initiates in neonatal period. If cough initiates in neonatal period, then we should suspect some congenital lung malformations or primary ciliary dyskinesia. So child of primary ciliary dyskinesia may start coughing on day 1 of life, and there will be not a single day without coughing. Swallowing difficulty. So there is fistula of cleft and craniofacial abnormality, neuromuscular disorders, and wet cough lasting more than 3 to 4 weeks. If the wet cough lasts for 4 weeks especially, then we should suspect protected bacterial bronchitis. So what is wet cough? If a child can produce a sputum expectorant sputum, it is wet cough. But usually children do not expectorate. So especially in younger children, less than 5 years, if the child is coughing and you put your hand over the chest or back of the child, there will be a feeling of vibrations. So if there is a feeling of vibration, it is wet cough. And if the parents are some parents are intelligent and they will say that there is a specific sound other than air coming when the child is coughing, so it is wet cough. So wet cough lasting for more than 4 weeks is pointing towards some specific diagnosis, and protected pectoral bronchitis is one of the cause. And I will describe this. So classification based on sound of cough. So sound characteristics and what are the possible etiology according to the sound characteristics. Dry staccato cough. It is pointing towards Chlamydophila infections. Staccato cough like what? Child will do like this, staccato cough. So if this type of cough, it is pointing towards Chlamydophila infections. Barking, brassy cough. It is pointing towards croup or tracheomalacia. Barking, honking cough, it is pointing towards rapid or cytogenic cough. Paroxysmal spasmodic cough, Whoop syndrome, it is seen in pertussis or pertussis like RSV also gives pertussis like coughing. So another classification is wet cough, dry cough. Wet cough is due to hypersecretion in the airways or impaired mucociliary clearance. Impaired mucociliary clearance in cystic fibrosis and primary ciliary dyskinesia, and it needs detailed evaluation if it becomes chronic. That is, if it becomes more than 4 weeks, it needs detailed evaluation to know the cause of cough. And causes may be, as I have said, commonly protected pectoral bronchitis, cystic fibrosis, primary ciliary dyskinesia, pneumonia, bronchitis. These may be the causes of chronic wet cough. And dry cough is due to irritation and or inflammation of airways. And classical example of dry cough is asthma, which we commonly see in our OPD and indoor. It may be due to non-airway causes also, that is stimulation of cough receptors other than in the airways. As I have already described, there are so many cough receptors other than in the airways, like in eardrum also, gastric mucosa also, diaphragm also, pericardium also. So if these are stimulated, there will be dry cough. So how to clinically assess a child who is coughing? The detailed history and clinical examination is cornerstone to detect the cause of cough. Investigation is required in few cases. Focus should be given to duration, quality, seasonal and or diurnal variation, environmental exposure, exposure to second-hand smoke, especially it is important in children, second-hand smoke. First-hand smoke is seen in adults, but in adolescents there may be first-hand smoke also. There was one child admitted here with asthma and he was smoking. Wood smoke, pollutants, irritants, personal and or family history of atopy and any known allergen. This should be looked for. Neonatal history is very important. As I have said, the child may start coughing right from the neonatal period, and we should know the associated symptoms with cough. Clinical examination should focus on nutritional status, growth and development, respiratory and ENT examination. It is always missed. ENT examination should always be done because there are some cough receptors also in the external auditory meatus, and if there is wax or inflammation, it may give rise to cough. And if you not examine, you will miss this diagnosis. Especially look for noisy breathing and clubbing. So clubbing means there is chronic persistent hypoxemia. Noisy breathing, there is something in the airway like airway malacia. Observe the quality of cough in clinic and if possible take respiratory sample. So quality of cough should be observed in the clinic, and I will show you one or two videos in which I have observed the quality of cough in my clinic. So how to investigate a coughing child? In case of acute cough, usually no investigation is required as it is mostly due to viral upper respiratory tract infections. If cough is progressive and pointing towards lower respiratory tract infection, a chest X-ray should be obtained. In cases of hemoptysis or cough seems to be due to undiagnosed chronic respiratory condition, chest X-ray should be obtained. If there is suspicion of foreign body aspiration, urgent bronchoscopy should be done. If facility is available, this facility is not available everywhere. Unfortunately, it is available here. So these are the two chest X-rays. So here, these are very important chest X-rays. See, both X-rays are from children with foreign body inspiration. So see the first X-ray. In this, what abnormality is in this first X-ray? There is hyperinflation of the right lung. See here, there is a straightening of the diaphragm, right side, whereas left side is normal. And there is something in the right bronchus which is not clearly visible. So it is pointing towards foreign body aspiration, but this chest X-ray is normal. So there was history of choking episodes, but chest X-ray is normal. So always there will be no, always you will not get abnormality in the chest X-ray. Sometimes chest X-ray will be normal, and then the foreign body will be diagnosed by flexible bronchoscopy. So chest X-ray in chronic cough, chest X-ray and age-appropriate lung function test should be done. Age-appropriate means what? So there are different kinds of lung function test, that is pulmonary function test (PFT), and commonly we do spirometry, which is available here also. So spirometry can be done in children 6 years and above. Few children below 6 years also can perform a spirometry. That is children of 4 years age group, and few children above 6 years, like 10 years and 15 years, may not perform a spirometry completely. So age appropriate pulmonary function test should be done if the child is usually between 6 to 18 years. The spirometry can be done. Below 6 years, and starting from 2 years, we can do IOS, impulse oscillometry, force oscillation technique, and in infants there is RBRTC techniques, that is infant pulmonary function test we can do. Further investigations will be guided by clinical conditions. Chest, if there is suspicion of bronchiectasis on clinical examination, go for chest CT, especially HRCT, high resolution CT. If there is suspicion of tracheoesophageal fistula, then Salem study should be done, especially if there is history of recurrent aspirations. Sweat chloride test should be done if there is suspicion of cystic fibrosis, as we suspected in patients a few days back. And bronchodilator reversibility test and test for allergen should be done if you suspect asthma in children. So bronchodilator reversibility. What is this? We do a spirometry, then give bronchodilator, that is short-acting beta agonist, 2 to 4 puffs, and again repeat this test after 15 minutes. If there is 12% change in FEV1, then the reversibility is positive, and we diagnose this case as asthma. 6 to 8 weeks trial of asthma medications can be given on strong suspicion of asthma and should be stopped if no benefit at the end of this trial period. So if you do not have the facility of pulmonary function test, or the child, if you have the facility or child cannot perform the pulmonary function test accurately, and there is strong suspicion of asthma, then we can prescribe 6 to 8 weeks of asthma medication, that is inhaler therapy, which we usually prescribe in our OPD, and see the response at the end of 6 to 8 weeks. If it is responding, then continue it. If it is not responding, then stop it. In cases of wet cough, sputum should be collected if age allows, and if possible, bronchoalveolar lavage by bronchoscopy if the facility is available. So sputum collection is difficult in children. So if the child is producing sputum, you can collect it. Not, then induced sputum should be collected, and if facility is available, then bronchoalveolar lavage should be collected. In suspicion of foreign body aspiration, bronchoscopy should be done as early as possible. So bronchoscopy, flexible bronchoscopy is done to diagnose foreign body, and it is very difficult to take out foreign body with flexible bronchoscope if you do not have the facility of cryoprobe. If you have facility of cryoprobe, it can be taken out. So it is a diagnostic bronchoscopy, flexible bronchoscopy should be done to diagnose the condition. If you have diagnosed, then by rigid bronchoscopy foreign body can be extracted, and it is usually done by pediatric surgeon or ENT surgeon. If there is suspicion of immunodeficiency, immune workup should be done. So immunodeficiency child, there are so many immunodeficiency, primary immunodeficiency in which child starts coughing and there is failure to thrive and associated features. If there is suspicion, then one immune workup should be done. Regarding management, how to manage acute cough? Start from acute cough. So every effort should be done to know the etiology of cough. Number one. In most of the cases, the etiology is viral upper respiratory tract infection, which needs only supportive treatment. Maintaining good hydration, saline nasal wash, and paracetamol if fever are sufficient. These are sufficient in most of the cases of acute cough, especially with viral origin, that is viral upper respiratory tract infections. There is no benefit of giving, so this is very important, there is no benefit of giving antitussive, decongestants and antihistamine. This is important. And it is required, it is prescribed frequently. We will see almost every prescriptions with these medications, antitussive, decongestant, antihistamines, and even the child is coughing. So there is no benefit of giving this. These have potential to cause adverse effects, so avoided, especially below 2 years of age. And there is no benefit of giving bronchodilators if the child is non-asthmatic or there is no atopic background. If the child is non-asthmatic or there is no atopic background, bronchodilators should not be given. It has no benefit. But there are so many cough preparations in the market which contain bronchodilator, and it is frequently prescribed. And after taking this medication 10 days, 15 days, 20 days, the child will come to you and parents will say that there is no benefit of this drug. So it should not be prescribed. Antibiotics are not effective, rather it can increase the resistance in society. So antibiotics should not be prescribed in these conditions. If pertussis is diagnosed early, that is within 1 to 2 weeks, macrolide should be given. So macrolide in pertussis does not reduce the severity of symptoms, it only decreases the infectivity. So if you are giving macrolides, do not expect that the child will respond clinically and there will be less severity of symptoms. No, only there will be decrease in infectivity. Cough with known etiology like asthma, bronchiolitis, croup, pneumonia should be treated with standard recommendations, which we are already doing. Honey may be beneficial for its soothing property in post-viral upper respiratory tract infections cough for children more than 2 years of age. Because less than 2 years, it should be avoided because of fear of causing botulism. So, see this child, the pattern of coughing. There is no sound? No sound. Okay. So there is some technical problem, sound is not coming. So just see the movement of chest in this child. So the child is coughing continuously and it is due to airway hypersensitivity and bronchospasm. So this is asthmatic child, visited my clinic. So the cornerstone of managing post-viral upper respiratory tract infection cough is repeated education of parents regarding the course of cough. We should explain the cough will be subsided automatically in 2 weeks, 3 weeks or less than 4 weeks. So repeated education of parents regarding the course of cough. Protective nature of cough, we should describe the cough is protective for the child if it is not vigorous, and harmful effects of cough formulation. So we should also explain the parents that cough formulations are harmful to the child. It is not going to benefit your child, rather it can harm your child. So this should be explained. This is the cornerstone of managing acute cough. So how to manage chronic cough? Proper evaluation is required to reach at the exact cause of cough. Once the cause becomes known, it is easy to treat the cough. So regarding history, recurrent or continuous cough, maybe there recurrent cough, continuous cough, and there is different etiology of both coughs as I have described. Wet or dry cough not producing a sputum, wet cough producing a sputum, or there is feeling of vibration when you put your hand over the back or chest of the child. If there is breathing difficulty, if there is shortness of breath and sinusitis, should be explored. Is there any history of chest pain, loss of weight in last 3 months? It is significant, especially in tuberculosis. If there is 5% or more loss in the last 3 months, it is significant. Noisy breathing, recurrent sinopulmonary infection, this should be explored in history. Hemoptysis, any history of hemoptysis, neurodevelopmental abnormality, this should be explored in history. So, we should look for dysmorphic facade, chest wall deformity, hypotonia, hypoxemia, clubbing, failure to thrive, any whooping, noisy breathing, wheeze or crackles. So usually wheeze in less than 5 years is seen in multi-trigger wheeze or episodic viral wheeze. There may be asthma also. If there is crackles, especially if it is deep respiratory crackles, it is pointing towards pneumonia. If it is early respiratory crackles or expiratory crackles, it is pointing towards airway obstructions due to some mucus or secretions deposited or inflammatory debris deposited in the airways. And we should look for cardiac abnormalities also. Some cardiac causes may also give rise to chronic cough. So diagnosis is suggested by clinical, that is clinical history and clinical examination. So see here, if it is a specific cough, it should be treated according to the etiology. So what is there in this CT chest? See, this CT chest is taken from a child of foreign body aspiration. So in this CT chest, this is the left main bronchus, this is the right main bronchus. So we can see clearly the left main bronchus, but not the right main bronchus, because there is foreign body lodged in the right main bronchus. So this is the specific cause of cough. We should diagnose the specific cause and treat it fully over. And it should be based on history and clinical examination. Non-specific cough, if there is non-specific cough, there is no pointers towards the specific cough on history and clinical examinations, then what to do? Watch for 1 to 2 weeks if possible. If possible means if it is not irritating, not disturbing, not sleep disturbing, not vigorous, then you should watch for 1 to 2 weeks. And explain the parents, educate the parents regarding the innocuous nature of cough. So, in cases of non-specific cough, second-hand smoke should be avoided. There will not always be a history of smoke, particularly in cases of children. If you will take history, then the parents will say nobody is smoking in the family. But we will explore gently, then there may be some persons smoking in the family and there is second-hand smoke causing cough to the child, so it should be avoided. And rule out foreign body by history and clinical examinations. And what other investigations like chest X-ray and CT chest. So in cases of chronic cough not resolving, complete blood count should be obtained. If there is a suspicion of atopy, a skin prick test should be obtained to know any allergens, and this is a special test, CRT. This is component resolved technology to know the allergens. So it is very costly test. It costs around 18 to 20,000, and we can know some allergens which is causing allergy and giving rise to cough to children. But it should not be done in every cases. It should be prescribed with cautions, and if there is a strong suspicion, everything should be ruled out for doing this test. And then comes the role of bronchoscopy and bowel fluid examination. And if facility available, bowel fluid examination should be done by doing flexible bronchoscopy to see the nature of bowel fluid, to examine this fluid regarding cells and culture of this fluid. So if you will do culture of this bowel fluid, and if there is more than 10 to the power 4 organisms grown per ml, this is different from the urine culture and blood culture. In culture 10 to the power 5 is significant, but in bowel it is 10 to the power 4, which is significant. And if you will see there is pneumococcus, Moraxella catarrhalis or Haemophilus influenzae, especially non-type people, then we should suspect the cause of cough as protected bacterial bronchitis. And this is the one condition in which antibiotics will work. This is the one condition. Definitely cough will be resolved if you will give prescribe antibiotic, and parents will thank you. So, in cases of wet cough, as I have already said, if you have diagnosed protected bacterial bronchitis, wet cough more than 4 weeks duration, and especially if you can prove it by doing bronchoscopy and bowel fluid culture, then give 2 weeks of amoxicillin and cough will be resolved. But it is not always possible to do bronchoscopy bowel culture because this facility is not available everywhere. So clinically we can suspect and clinically we can prescribe after ruling out other causes and cough will be resolved. In cases of dry cough, trial of medium dose inhalation corticosteroid for 4 to 6 weeks should be given. Just as a trial and see the response. Follow up is mandatory at the end of treating both dry and wet cough. In case of no response, referral should be considered. Foreign body aspirations should always be kept one possibility even if there is no history of choking. So in almost 15% of cases, according to several studies, in almost 15% of cases there will be no history of any choking episode, but there will be foreign body. And specific causes should always be treated according to the standard guidelines like asthma, cystic fibrosis, primary ciliary dyskinesia, immunodeficiency, tuberculosis. This should always be treated according to the standard guideline. If the guideline is not working, then you can deviate. In case of wet cough of more than 4 weeks duration, protected bacterial bronchitis should always be kept one possibility. So clinically you can diagnose it after ruling out other causes. Most common isolated organisms, as I have already said, are pneumococcus, H. influenzae, moraxella. So in our country, H. influenzae may be seen, but in Western countries, because of wide range of these pneumococcal vaccines, non-typeable Haemophilus influenzae are detected in the bowel fluid, and this is very dangerous because non-typeable Haemophilus influenzae is known to cause bronchitis in children, especially the child is suffering from protected bacterial bronchitis (PBB), and non-typeable H. influenzae has been detected. Then there is possibility that it may cause bronchitis if it is not treated adequately. If possible, bronchoscopy and bowel fluid examination should be done to establish the diagnosis. Sometimes a prolonged course of antibiotics like 4 to 6 weeks may be needed in cases of protected bacterial bronchitis to treat it completely. Other possible causes like asthma should be ruled out before considering this diagnosis. As I have already scheduled, clinically rule out other possible causes before prescribing 2 weeks of antibiotic or prolonged antibiotic course. The child should be evaluated at the end of therapy, and in case of no response, diagnosis should be revised. Means the diagnosis is doubtful if there is no response, because most of the child respond very well after antibiotic course in cases of protected bacterial bronchitis. If no response, then diagnosis is doubtful. In case of non-specific chronic cough in otherwise healthy child, parents should be counseled and child may be just observed for a period of 6 to 8 weeks. If it is not disturbing, cough is not disturbing, cough is not vigorous, it is not disturbing the sleep of the child or not disturbing the school performance, then just it should be watched for 6 to 8 weeks, after educating the parents. If there is evidence of atopy in the child with features of allergic rhinitis, atopy in the child may be allergic atopic dermatitis or features of allergic rhinitis. In those cases, intranasal steroid should be prescribed. If the cough is causing trouble and pulmonary function test cannot be done, inhalation corticosteroid should be prescribed and the child is reassessed at 6 to 8 weeks to decide whether to continue or stop. And I am always saying this in cases of bronchitis also. If you are nebulizing with one medication, if it is responding, then only you continue it. If it is not responding, change it. Same is the case here. At the end of 6 to 8 weeks, if the response is good, then continue it. No response, stop it. But before seeing the response, you should check the technique of inhalation, whether the child is taking it technically perfect or not, whether the compliance is good or not. If the child is having headache without fever, facial pain, nose block, tenderness over the sinuses, 15 days course of antibiotics should be prescribed, which I will always prescribe if I suspect sinusitis. So in those cases, antibiotic will work, and 15 days course of antibiotic should be prescribed, suitable antibiotic. In case of non-specific cough, asthma medications for allergic rhinitis and anti-GERD gastroesophageal respiratory medications do not work and should be avoided. If there is no pointers in the history or clinical examination of these things, so these medications will not work and it should be avoided. Again, there is no sound. Okay. Just observe this child. She is adolescent, and the child had come to me after taking treatment for about 2 months and with no response. Several medications, nebulized medications, oral beta agonists, antibiotics, these medications. And when I just observed the pattern of cough of this child and clinically examined, I diagnosed it as a case of sinusitis, and I treated the child with 15 days course of antibiotics, and child responded well. The child is now good. There are no symptoms. So always we should watch the pattern of cough in OPD. Foreign body aspiration should always be kept one possibility even without witnessing a choking episode. As I have already described, in cases of foreign body aspiration, in about 15% cases there will be no history of choking episode. If possible, if facility is available, a flexible bronchoscopy should be done to diagnose this condition. Psychogenic habit coughs should be treated with suggestions and behavioral therapy. And organic causes should be ruled out before labeling a psychogenic cough. Always organic causes should be ruled out before labeling a psychogenic cause of the cough. So the take home message from my side is, cough is a protective mechanism of body to expel out unwanted entrants from airways. It requires treatment only when it becomes troublesome. Watchful observation is all that is required in most of the cases when the frequency and intensity are in decreasing trends. When it persists beyond expected time or it becomes traumatic within a short period, it should always be treated. All efforts should be done to know the cause of cough and the cause should be treated. So it is like we are treating typhoid fever or malaria, we are giving paracetamol to lower down the temperature only. But unless we treat typhoid or malaria or tuberculosis, the fever will not go. It will go only for a period of effect of this paracetamol. This is the same situation in cough. If you give some cough suppressant, maybe for a period of time cough will be subsided, but again it will come unless we treat the cause. So both should be taken care of. Thank you very much.